So I don't know if you guys know this, but back in the early 2000s, Rob Van Dam owned a comic book store. It was named RVD's 5-Star Comics and Wrestling. And the 5-star, of course, is a nod to his wrestling moves. And so I remember walking around the mall, and when I walked around the mall and I saw this store, and I was like, there's no way this is RVD's. So I walked in, and sure enough, it was his. And I saw all these ECW action figures that I had never seen before. And then I saw a bunch of replica belts, comic books, all that fun stuff. And I was like, man, this is pretty damn cool. And I remember it was around WrestleMania, I want to say 21, WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, that he was going to bring in a bunch of different WWE superstars. I think he was going to have Bret Hart there, Booker T, Rey Mysterio. He was just going to have a whole week full of talent signing at the store. And so, I mean, to me, it was just amazing as a wrestling fan to be able to walk in there and see a store just with, half wrestling, half comic books, because you wouldn't see that before. But in my mind, I was like, okay, if a half comic book, half wrestling store can work, why can't an all wrestling or all WWE store work? And that was what the inspiration was for the Wrestling Guy store. And that's what I decided to try to do when we, at our post at the Santa Fe Spring Swap Meet, I try to do an all WWE themed store. So what I started doing was I started looking at how we can get the action figures in the store, how we can get pendants like the Jeff Hardy pendants, the John Cena spinning replica, I believe it was the US spinner. We tried to get everything we could, posters, plushies, everything we could find we wanted to get at the swap meet. And we were able to get a few things. So then when we had the opportunity to open the store, I always remembered RVD's store, and unfortunately it had closed. The location was he had moved from Lakewood to Lomita, California, and his store closed once it moved. And I was like, you know what, I have to make this store work. I didn't know at the time, and I still don't know why the store closed. But I was determined to make this store work when the opportunity came to open it here in Huntington Park. And at the same time, when the opportunity came to open it in Huntington Park, I said, what'll be really cool is if I can get RVD to come into the store and pretty much see what his store inspired, and to pretty much give me his blessing, per se, because I honestly believe that without seeing his store, without checking out his store, I don't think I ever would have gotten the idea to open a full, WWE themed store. And so it was very important for me to try to find a way to get, his blessing, or to get him to come in the store. And, so, we had various signings throughout the time we were here. As I mentioned in the last episode, we had Chavo Guerrero here. After Chavo, I believe we had Chris Masters, we had Shelly Martinez, we had Daphne, and Daphne was just amazing to me. Not to get off subject, but she was amazing to me. I loved having Daphne. She even scared me a little bit, because what happened was when Daphne came in, she was a sweetheart, total sweetheart, and I wish we would have had the opportunity to work with her more. But what scared me was that she was doing the signing here. And she would sit at the table, sign the autographs, and then she would get up and take pictures. But at that time, we had a rolling chair. And so I remember she pushed her chair back to take a picture. She was really sweet with everybody. And when she stood up, she took the picture. She took like 2 or 3 with every fan. And then she was going to sit down, but I think she forgot that she had pushed the chair back. And when she sat down, she hit the edge of the chair and boop, fell on the floor. Now here I am sweating bullets, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get sued by Daphne. I just injured Daphne, because she was going to wrestle in a show later on for this promotion called AWS. So I'm like, oh my God, I have just injured Daphne, and she's going to sue me, and I'm going to be all over the dirt sheets. But you know, I kept apologizing to her. I kept checking if she was okay, and she was so sweet. She just kept telling me, "It's not your fault, David. You're okay. Don't worry. It's not your fault." She goes, "I just forgot to pull the chair back," and she goes, and she was having such a good time that, you know, I could see why she forgot. But I always kept telling her, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." But so, you know, I love Daphne, and she was just freaking amazing. So if you ever got the opportunity to meet her, I'm sure you got to see how awesome she was. If you didn't, you know, I wish you would have, because you would have seen what a sweetheart she was. But sorry, so I know I got off subject. But back to RVD. So yeah, this was my goal. This was my goal, to get him in here to come to the store after all these signings. And so I had this gentleman, and he messaged me on Facebook. And he asked me if I would be interested in bringing in some talent that he's worked with talent before, and if I would be interested in bringing in some of the talent he works with. And I was like, sure, you know, tell me some more. And he did. His name was, so this gentleman was, his name is Tony Vella. Now, Tony has worked with a lot of wrestlers in the past. He used to help out at Frankenson. He's worked with like Mick Foley, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, and he also worked with Rob Van Dam. And because of Tony, we were able to bring in other talents into the store, such as, you know, Melina, Kelly, Kurt Angle, and so on, Maurice. So, but before that, though, you know, when he first messaged me, you know, we would get messages from random people asking if we would be interested in bringing in talent or whatever. And sometimes, you know, they seemed legit, sometimes they didn't. So I was always very careful, because I didn't want to say yes, commit, advertise, and then, you know, the person didn't show up. So Tony finally, you know, he mentioned Rob Van Dam. And of course, my eyes lit up. And I was like, oh my God, this is my opportunity. But is this guy Tony legit? Is he actually legit? Does he actually know Rob Van Dam? Does he actually work with Rob Van Dam? So after, you know, we you know, talked numbers, we made an agreement, and he made a graphic for us to advertise the signing. But, you know, I didn't want to advertise because I was kind of scared, but I said, you know what, I'm going to advertise it. I'm going to put it on Twitter first. And if Rob Van Dam reposts it, then I know this is legit. If he doesn't repost it, I'm not advertising it anywhere near my Instagram or anywhere near my Facebook. So sure enough, you know, Tony sends me the graphic. I post it up on Twitter, and I believe within like a couple hours, Rob Van Dam retweets it. And then I'm like, holy cow, this is actually going to happen. And I was so excited because I wanted Rob Van Dam to come into the store. I wanted him to check it out. I wanted him to give us his critique. I wanted him to say, you know, whether he liked it or hated it and all that stuff. It was just important to me because his store was pretty much the stepping stone for us, you know. And so when he you know, the day came, I was nervous. I was sweating. And, you know, I had talked to Rob Van Dam on the phone years ago when he first opened the store, because my wife was at Lakewood Mall buying me an anniversary gift. And I guess when she was there, RVD was walking towards his car, and she had him call me and tell him, and this was before I owned the store, had him call me. And, you know, I remember I picked up the phone. She goes, hey, I have somebody here who wants to talk to you. I was like, who? And then she's like, just wait. So she, you know, he gets on the phone. He's like, hey, David, how you doing? Do you know who this is? And I kind of knew who it was because I recognized the voice, but I was kind of like, I think so. Because I was like, I don't want to build up if it's not him. And he goes, well, this is the whole effing show. Rob Van Dam, how are you? And, you know, we spoke for maybe 2-3 minutes. It was so cool. And so I remembered that when he came into the store, and I knew how cool and how awesome he was, and how awesome he was going to be with the fans. And sure enough, he was just amazing with the fans. You know, he takes his time talking to the fans. He takes his time, you know, he does the whole Rob Van Dam for every picture, and his signature is like a work of art. It just, if you've ever seen it, it's like, it's just artwork, you know. And he goes above and beyond when he signs it, because not only does he sign his name, he'll put like former WWE ECW champion. He'll put the whole damn show Rob Van Dam. So he spends at least a good 5 minutes with every single fan. And, you know, so finally the opportunity came after the signing was over, to ask him what he thought of the store. I got to tell him what an inspiration his store was to the store, and just see what he thought of the store. And he told me he was impressed with the store. He liked it. He wished me nothing but the best. And I always remember he told me, he goes, you know what, brother, he goes, I wish you nothing but luck. I hope you do better than I did. And after he told me that, I made it my goal to make sure that this store was successful. I made it my goal to make sure that, he would come back 1 or 2 more times after that, and to make sure that the store succeeded and make it something that fans would be proud of. And that's why we don't sell online, a lot of stuff online, because we want kids and wrestling fans to come in and check out the store. We want them to to have like a mini, and I mean a mini Disneyland, a mini WWE Disney store, if you will. And so so when he told me that was my goal, and that's why I push so hard. That's why sometimes when sales are a little slow, I get a little disappointed, because it was like it was kind of like a big brother or a dad, pushing you to do better than they did. And that's how I took it when he told me, hey, I hope your store does better than mine, and I hope I wish you nothing but success. And he also told me, anything you need, let me know. I'll help you out in any way possible. And he has. We've been able to have him here 2 more times. I believe we had him maybe here the second time 2 years after his first appearance, and then we had him again in I believe in 2021. And and every time he comes in, he always wishes me the best, and he always tells me, that he hopes the store does well and continues to do well. And every now and then I'll message him and ask him about somebody or something, and he'll give me some advice, and he'll give me some tips. And so I honestly feel like without Rob Van Dam's 5-Star Comics and Wrestling, the Wrestling Guy store wouldn't be here. So I wish you guys would have been able to check it out. If you didn't get to check out his store, like I said, it was awesome. It was amazing. And like I said, he was kind of the inspiration. Another inspiration that he gave us here at the store was that if you ever entered his store, and when he had somebody there, for example, he had Booker T there, and when you would look up on the ceiling, he had Booker T's ring-worn gloves hanging on the ceiling along with his signature on the board. So what we did was, when we opened our store, we wanted something similar. So thanks to my friend Anthony Parian, he actually was the one that decided, hey, let me draw, let me make them artwork, and they can sign it and put it up. So his store, RVD's 5-Star Comics and Wrestling, was actually the inspiration, not just for the store, but also for our ceiling, which we call like our little Hollywood ceiling of fame. So so there's a lot of RVD inspiration in this store. So I don't know if I've ever gotten a chance to tell him thank you. Well, I've gotten a chance to tell him thank you, but I don't know if I've ever gotten a chance to tell him how much I appreciate the advice, the blessing he gave us, how much it meant to me to have that blessing, and how much it meant for him to tell me that he hopes we do really well here. So RVD, I want to just say thank you for inspiring our store. Thank you for just always being amazing, and just thank you very much.